Alright, so today I'm going to be talking about my love for the prequels. They are my favorite of the trilogy for Star Wars. You have the first three movies, which is going in chronological order. You have 1, 2, and 3, and then 4, 5, 6, and then 7, 8, and coming up is 9. So you've got the prequels, which is 1, 2, and 3, the original, which is 4, 5, 6, and then the now sequels are 7, 8, and coming up soon is 9. The sequels I like the least. They feel like cheap to me. Not cheap, knockoffs. They just don't feel like the other ones have. I do enjoy the original trilogy, but I've always had a love for the prequels. Basically, my favorite movie out of them is the second movie, which is odd for a lot of people because most people rank the second movie as their worst. But I've always had a spot in my heart for it. It's kind of where you see Anakin. You see him tempted by the dark side, but he gives in, but he comes back, right? So he kills the Tusken Raiders, but he comes back to the light side, kind of, because he's still in love with Padme, and they get married, and there's all of that. But he doesn't just go all the way over. So the first movie is him discovering the Force, and the third movie is him giving in to the dark side and siding with Palpatine. But I mean, so the prequels, so like if you compare the sequels and the prequels, because they should be similar when you look at them. They're both after the original trilogy, which kind of paved the way for what Star Wars should be known as. So when you look at the prequels versus the sequels, the prequels have better planets. The prequels have better character development. It feels like they have more characters. They have a more expansive universe. Whereas the sequels have just been less in all categories. You have the planets. You have Naboo, which was a totally new addition to it was a total new planet for us to explore and to look at. You have the separatists with the beginning of the separatists, I guess. You have the Trade Federation and their droids, which are a total new enemy, which we haven't seen. The new order, the new order is just stormtroopers look a little differently. It's not a real new enemy. You have a shadowy figure which looks like the Emperor, and he's working behind the scenes. He's not this big enemy. He's the underdog. He's fighting from behind the scenes. Whereas in the sequels, you have Snoke, who's there sometimes. We don't know a lot about him. We don't see a lot what he's doing other than him getting killed. He doesn't seem very powerful from watching the movies. And you have we're introduced to what the Jedi were before the original trilogy. Because the original trilogy is just, they're myths basically. They're these people we don't really know too much about, but the prequels explore that, and I really enjoy that idea. What the prequels also explore is how the Jedi who were in the original trilogy so powerful and strong, how were they taken out and destroyed? And I don't know if a lot of people catch on to that, but you should. But the Jedi are losing their connection to the Force. It's diminished. Why is it diminished? I've got a topic I'm probably just going to film straight after this one, honestly, because I'm so involved about it. But I'm going to talk about this right after this. It'll probably go up the same day. But the Force, the Jedi aren't able to use the Force as they were prior. Long enough for a human such as, gosh, I'm having a brain fart. Black, played by Samuel Jackson. I'm having a brain fart right now, but he is able to realize that their use of the Force is diminished, which means it happened very quickly, right? And we see that the dark side shrouds their vision. This is very important for going later into the prequels, but this is set up in the first movie. This is set up early. We also see how they're hesitant to get involved with the government because they want to remain separate. They just want to be peacekeepers, not part truly of the government. Hypothetically, I think the Jedi want to be just happen to be on the same planet as the government, and that's how that worked out. But later into the trilogy, that's not what happens, and they become warriors. Also, what I love so much about the prequels is what's been built around it. You know, you have the Clone Wars, an amazing, which is canon now, an amazing episodic, just so the seasons are so good. Watching them as a kid really got me into Star Wars, which I think is why my love of the prequels came about so much. But watching that show, and it wasn't a kids show. There was death all the time. You know, you see clone troopers die constantly. You see betrayals, you see love, you see all this other stuff. And it was exciting to watch. And it expanded on this huge universe which I got to fall in love with. And I got to see more of the Jedi and the struggles between them. And I really count, you know, the prequels are the first three movies, you know, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith. But I mean, it's hard to think of the prequels without thinking of the Clone Wars because it's in the timeline, it just fits in between 2 and 3. So when I'm thinking about all the characters I love, sometimes I get some blending in. Ahsoka Tano is probably my favorite female lead of all three of the trilogies. You know, Padme's fine. She's kind of there, not there. You know, there's Leia. I mean, I just never fell in love with Leia. She was a good character. I liked her. You know, she was strong. She was on her own. It wasn't my thing. I don't care about the gender thing, whatever that the do you have two female characters that talk to each other on stream? Blah. I don't. It doesn't matter what gender. As long as the story is good, I'm going to watch it. They're aliens. Who you're gonna call female? Who you gonna not call female? I don't care. Then there's the third movie, or the third trilogy, the sequels. I mean, I want to. I like the actress that plays Rey. Okay. I don't like Rey the character. And I don't like that Leia's still alive. I thought Leia should have died earlier, first of all, or been alive with the other three. Leia living for so long, her using the Force, I hated that. Episode 8 upset me so much. Why did Leia use the Force there? Why did she float back in from, like, maybe if she used the Force to close a door. Totally legit. Using the Force to float back in from outer space. No. No. Not what I wanted to see. Which is fine. People can have different opinions, but it's not. I don't hate anybody who disagrees with me. I just disagree that was the decision to go with. I think she could have been much better without having special powers. They gave Leia the Force. She didn't need the Force. She was cool because she didn't have the Force. Luke was this awesome protagonist, you know, and he was discovering these special powers, you know, using an ancient warrior way. Han was this hotshot smuggler, you know, uses luck, is, you know, kind of out there. And then Leia was this badass lead of the rebellion who she didn't, you know, her special thing was that she was a princess, but in this galaxy there's plenty of princesses. They're not leading the rebellion. She didn't need the Force. In my opinion, it diminishes the awesomeness of her character because she was normal. You know, for example, going into the Clone Wars, you have all these Jedi, and then you have Captain Rex. Captain Rex is so cool because he doesn't use the Force. He's a badass wielding guns, fighting the Sith, fighting General Grievous. He fights all these evil people. And he's basically a normal guy. He's a soldier, but there's nothing, you know, spiritual or magic about it. I think not using the Force and having a character be badass should be an essential part of that character. I think Finn should in the next movie be awesome because he doesn't need to use the Force and be a badass. I think Disney needs to figure that out. Now the prequels, getting back to the prequels because I'm off track again. The prequels, let's rank. In my opinion, it goes the second movie, the third movie, the first movie. Now, let me get this straight. I love all of these movies. I love the action in the first movie. I love the like the Darth Maul fight is one of the best lightsaber fights. Might even be the best in all of Star Wars. Episode 2, the fight in the Coliseum, and then the all the clones fighting. That's awesome. Episode 3, you see all these different battles. You have the fight on Mustafar, which is a little bit cringy when you see their swords fighting off, but it could have been a way better scene if they talked more and fought just a little less, but it's fine. I enjoyed it either way. It was cool to see people fighting on a lava planet. I'm sure we're going to see that in episode 9. But it was fun to see that. And then you have all the worlds, and you see the betrayal of the Jedi, and you see the darkness of, you see how dark the Sith really are. You see them blow up a planet, right? But it's not in your face. Because you see a planet explode, but you don't see the faces of everyone who dies. You watch the face of the Jedi die, which is made so much worse watching the Clone Wars because they all have character development and they're more to you than just some Jedi. Side note, not canon, Battlefront 2, the OG one, when you play as a member of the 501st, which, doesn't really work too well since Rex isn't there, but it's not canon, but it's still a cool game. Going into the temple and fighting the Jedi, crazy scene, crazy game, but in the movie is just crazy to watch. And then watching Anakin kill the Padawans, not even the Padawans, the younglings, was just so emotional, and it leaves a memory. You remember that moment. The prequels have such memorable moments that I think people don't really catch on to. Everyone knows the Darth Maul fight, or the sound. Everyone knows that song. Just like everyone knows the Cantina song, but it's a little bit different because this is a cool scene with lightsabers and fighting, and Qui-Gon dies, and Obi-Wan kills a Sith. And then we go into the second movie. You have the scene of Tatooine. That's memorable. You have the fight at the Coliseum. That's memorable. All the Jedi fighting by themselves. The clones coming in. There's just so many scenes that you remember. Then going into episode 3, you have them wrestling saving the Chancellor. You have the awesome meme of Obi-Wan Kenobi, hello there. Everyone knows hello there, General Kenobi. You have the fight on Mustafar. You have the slaying of the Jedi. Just these memorable scenes that we all take for granted. Because going into the sequels, I'm trying to think of memorable scenes that I love. Going into the first movie. The first movie of the prequels. I mean, I really like the track with all the rebels coming to save everybody at whatever the alien lady's place. But the first movie to me is so like, what's memorable? Han dying. A death is memorable. A death that really isn't too in a box for the prequels. If you don't have the original trilogy, Han's death doesn't mean anything. Okay? Going back to the prequels, you feel Qui-Gon's death because you felt him through the first movie. You don't know about Qui-Gon at all in the original trilogy, but his death makes you feel something. Han's death outside of the original trilogy doesn't make you feel anything. Just like Snoke's death didn't make you feel anything. I cheered when I saw Darth Maul die, he comes back. But when he dies in the first movie, you cheer. Obi-Wan killed him. It's an awesome scene. In episode 2, Jango Fett dies, but Jango Fett's been established through the whole movie, and then he's killed like that. And then you see his son pick up his helmet. Emotional scene, great scene. That's a death you remember. Watching the bounty hunter die after running away from Anakin and Obi-Wan, there's a little emotion there. They established a little bit of that character in the time of the movie. Luke dying in episode 8 didn't make me sad because Luke died. It made me sad when he died and why. He saved everybody, that was great. But why was his redemption his death? That's all his character got for the redemption of being away. I'm scared that Leia's gonna die. I mean, Leia's death is going to mean something because she's been in all of the movies and been a big part of it. You feel a little bit of Han's death because of the way he's interacted with Rey. But it's not a crazy emotional scene. You haven't felt him the whole movie. Which it's a sequel that happens, but I feel like the deaths in the prequels just hit so much harder with Qui-Gon's death, with Anakin's mom's death, Shmi, with all of the Jedi's death, the younglings. It's just something horrible we see. And then, not even that, the deaths mean more to us because we've watched the Clone Wars and we know them. And then you have Star Wars Rebels, which is technically set somewhere in between 4, 5, and 6. I don't know the timeline exactly. I don't think that show made me feel like anyone's death meant more. It was cool that they gave us Rex in Endor. That was awesome. But I don't think we have any sequel shows to really base off of. There's that Mandalorian show coming out. I'm excited for that. Interesting to see how that's going to turn out, but the prequels are just so good. Just everything that happens during the prequels is awesome to see and watch. I just love the prequels. And a lot of people hate on it. And I saw one guy compare, the prequel, this people hate on the prequels, and then some people love the prequels. Now we're hating on the sequels, and then people are going to love the sequels. But I don't think the sequels stand up to what the prequels were. What's a memorable world in the sequels? There's that salt planet / moon that they hide on. Okay, that was a cool scene. That was there for 10 minutes? There's that casino town with the strange horses. I don't think, I want to go there. There's Jakku, which is literally just a ball of dirt. Is there anything on it? I don't think so. Are those all the planets? I think that is. They fight on the big whatever. It looks like they turned a planet into Starkiller Base, which was cool. I feel like that could have been more, except they blew it up in 20 minutes. And then, it was gone. And that was that. But then let's go prequels. Naboo. Absolutely beautiful, absolutely stunning. Want to go there. We see more of Tatooine. Tatooine isn't just this ball of dirt that it was in the original trilogy. Even though, in the original trilogy, Tatooine still had more character than Jakku. And the sequels shows even more character of Tatooine. Okay, that's the first movie. We see Coruscant in the first movie. This huge planet, which is just a city. It's just an amazing thing to look at and to watch. And then you come on to the second movie. You get Geonosis. Geonosis looks like a ball of dirt. And then we see the droid factory. We see the population under it. We see the big battle there. So much is worked around this planet for the movie. And we see more of Coruscant and the Jedi. And we see more of Naboo. People get married. We see different parts of it. You know, coming on to episode 3, we see Mustafar. We see Yavin. We don't see Yavin. We see, what's the name of that place? Where Obi-Wan fights General Grievous. You know, we see a whole bunch of different planets with the quick cutscenes of the Jedi, which was, you know, there's so much to explore there now. Because they've established those worlds. We haven't seen worlds established. We've seen more worlds be destroyed. In the first movie, when Starkiller Base shoots the Republic, whatever it is, we see more planets destroyed, I'm pretty sure, than we see in the trilogy so far. And it looks like they're going to go back to Endor to the Death Star. Are we going to see a cool original planet? Jakku is disappointing. The market world, wherever we were, was disappointing. You know, it's fine, but it's just a town. It doesn't really look like a cool planet that I want to explore. We have the ice place, which is just Hoth, but salty and red. It's not something original or cool. You know, I just don't. The prequels are just so good. My point. I've been going on for a long time. But, yeah, I love the prequels. And, I'm definitely gonna wrap this video up here. Check out my next video. It's gonna be about the Force. I appreciate you sticking around. You know, comment in the comments if anybody watches this. I love to talk about Star Wars. But yeah, that's been it.